What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Geordie, and welcome back to F1 23 My Team career mode. Oh my god, if you missed the last episode, you really have to go check it out. It was the Monaco Grand Prix, and we actually qualified in pole position to start first, and we finished first in Monaco. We had an amazing strategy, as Arava would say, a 300 IQ strategy, where we pitted 2 laps earlier than everybody else for softs after a wet race for the most part, where we had to be on inters. We pitted 2 laps earlier for softs, and I mean, we did have to fight towards the end, obviously, with Verstappen, who actually got so frustrated with us, which is so weird, because he did the same in Arava's thing, but not to the biggest extent there. In Arava's race, I'm pretty sure Verstappen actually crashed himself out of the race, whereas in ours, he just knocked off his front wing by ramming us up the back in the same corner. He had to pit, so he ruined his entire race. So it's just been a weird season, and right now it's Sergio Perez, who leads the championship. So obviously it is Red Bull who are running away with the constructors, and obviously I think they're going to win the whole thing. But we actually are doing pretty good. We're 7th. Which is amazing considering the car. Drugovich isn't doing too bad neither. He's slowly improving. He's definitely much better than the teammate I had in F1 2020 that was last all the time. They were last all the time, and you know, just seeing Drugovich at least fighting around 15th, 14th, it's really good. And he was a bit unlucky in that Monaco race. I think his wing got knocked off in the first lap or something. I don't know. I haven't gone back to check on that episode yet. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But I'm going to assume someone knocked his front wing off. He had to pit on the first lap in Monaco. And yeah, he did copy my strategy within those 2 laps where I was on the softs and everyone else was on inters. On the second of those 2 laps, Drugovich actually pitted again for mediums, so he did gain a few positions. I think he ended up in like 15th in that race. I think he finished 14th because Verstappen had to pit, obviously. But it's a shame, because you start to wonder what could have happened if he didn't have that crash in lap 1. You know, if he didn't have to pit in lap 1, maybe he could have gotten points. I don't know, but we're getting there. So we're going to go look at corporate now. In terms of the contracts, it expires on the 15th of July, so we still got just over a month, obviously. We do need to start saving money, obviously, to repay that contract. Of course, his base salary is 1.5 million, so we need to stay above 1.5 million. He is improving a lot. I did mention before that I don't think it's fair that certain drivers that were in F2 last season, like Oscar Piastri and Logan Sargent, both have better ratings and better experience than the F2 champion himself. It doesn't make any sense to me, but we're actually slowly pushing Drugovich up the order here. He's only 2 overalls behind Sargent and De Vries, and obviously our car is steadily improving. Probably not the greatest improvements ever, but we do have some R&D improvements coming in very soon, and they will be coming in for the Spanish Grand Prix. We have 2 days beforehand though, so obviously we're going to improve something, and we're going to do reaction training with Drugovich to see if we can improve him even more. And obviously we'll want to be going through the simulator as well. And you know what, I think we're actually going to go and purchase the analysis suite right now for the 3rd of June. So right now we don't have enough to pay Drugovich's contract, but we still have just over a month to go. We're just under $1 million, so we should gain enough from our next Grand Prix to actually be fine with that. And our next Grand Prix is the Spanish Grand Prix, and it looks like Fernando Alonso is retiring, so maybe he's retiring for everybody this year. I don't know, because I've seen a couple other career modes on YouTube where Fernando Alonso is retiring. in the first season, which doesn't make any sense because in real life, Fernando Alonso doesn't look close to retirement. I reckon he could do another 5, maybe even 10 seasons at this rate. I don't know about 10, but definitely 5. But everything else seems pretty fine. We do need to start doing some upgrades on everything but the chassis. Of course, we started off with a boost in the chassis, which is really weird because the chassis actually starts off really bad in the game, as you can tell by where we are in current performance, even though it's the most upgraded out of everything else, apart from the powertrain, of course. So we're now going to skip ahead to the day of the Spanish Grand Prix. Our upgrades, wow, both of our upgrades have done amazing, absolutely amazing. That is beautiful. I'm so happy about that. So let's see where we are in the R&D chart now. Looks to me like we're still not up there with AlphaTauri just yet. Or maybe we will be by the time we go into the race day. Maybe it will change then. We're still not going to do a Pirelli hot lap. I don't want to be driving real cars in an F1 game, you know. But without further ado, let's actually, before we get into it, we need to fit in some new parts, particularly on the gearbox. Last episode, obviously, we lost a gear, so yeah, it's now time to fit a new gearbox. No penalty, of course. We already took extra penalties for a 5th gearbox. We could still end up doing that with the other parts, but we don't really need to do it yet. So the MGUH is looking pretty worn, so we're going to oh no, it's not. My apologies. Fitted is 2. We're completely fine in that regard. We're completely fine everywhere else, to be honest. The MGUK, I think we can push for one more race, and then we'll obviously change it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the Spanish Grand Prix. It's obviously the new layout, so I'm looking forward to trying that out. Here we go. Well, here we are, qualifying for the Spanish Grand Prix. Of course, that final chicane, horrible chicane, finally got removed. I wonder what took them so long, to be quite frank, but I wonder how it's going to face going into it. Of course, after our last race at Monaco, where we got the win, honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about this. But of course, this could also be a race where we get like a snapback to reality, you know, like when we got a 4th in Miami and then fell well down the order towards the end of the race in Imola. You know, this could happen in Spain, so we definitely want to have our wits about us. We want to keep our expectations sort of grounded, as Felipe Drugovich has used most of his ERS. Obviously, he's probably already done his lap. He's letting us past, and yeah, here we are, going through this new, or well, old layout there for Spain as we go on to our first ever lap around the Spanish circuit. Yes, this is my first ever lap around the new Spanish circuit, at least I think so anyway. I don't recall doing it beforehand on F1 23, so yeah, bit of a, I say my first one, I think I did a few laps in practice. I do like to do practice 1 by myself, to not only actually practice the track, obviously, but you actually earn more R&D quicker by actually doing the objectives, you know, the practice programs yourself. So obviously I use practice 1 to do most of that. I only really use quick practice for practice 3, and that's if I did practice 2. If I did practice 2, then there's no need to even turn up for practice 3. But yeah, doing pretty good so far. 2 purple sectors in well, in the track so far. Sorry for that there. I've just woken up, so yeah, the commentary will be a little slow for now, but going around this final corner, kind of using Oscar Piastri's slipstream and racing line here, as our lap is good enough for P1, and I felt so confident because we even beat Verstappen and Sainz, so I felt so confident about that lap. That was the only lap we did in that session, and of course Hamilton got a little close to us by 7 milliseconds. Very fine margins. But yeah, that was good enough to get us through to Q1, obviously. That It was a little surprising that we topped the charts in Q1, definitely, but I still wanted to stay grounded because obviously just early days, the track isn't at its quickest just yet, so you know, our lap times could look very different towards the end of it. And of course, qualifying pace is different from race pace. And I will tell you this, after going through a lot of laps in practice, the soft tyres don't exactly feel the greatest round here. Although qualifying could have told you otherwise. Obviously, we did so well in Q1 with the soft tyres. So maybe our qualifying pace will kind of dictate my race strategy a little bit. I don't know, but from what I remember of practice, I felt more comfortable around the track on the hards than I did on the softs. So take from that what you will, as we go into the last section of the track now, the two new sections, of course. Again, I really want to know whose idea it was to add the final chicane and why it took so long for them to remove it, but that lap's good enough for P2. Of course, Verstappen hadn't set his lap yet, so obviously he has now, and Alonso also has his. He's quicker than us. Little bit of understeer there going into our final lap of Q2. Obviously, we didn't actually have enough time to do another lap, so I was sort of lucky that we were P8, because we actually could have been eliminated pretty quick there. I don't remember why I didn't have enough time. I think I was going through my setup or something. I don't know, but we just didn't have enough time to set another lap time. But it was alright, because we made it through to Q3. So we have some really good pace around this circuit, this new layout, some really good pace, and that is just amazing. And of course, we're still like a second off of Charles Leclerc, but again, most of these guys probably had a second lap, of course. Our teammate clearly got knocked out in Q1, unfortunately. Again, still really trying to work on his overall pace, and obviously we're going to be doing a lot of personnel upgrades very soon. But yeah, on to Q3. So again, just like Monaco, I didn't really care where we ended up. Like, we were starting in the top 10, so that's amazing for us, being the worst car on the grid, which really isn't saying much because the competition is so close. But overall, we are the worst. But I'm judging that from durability. So if our durability was higher, who knows where we would be in the grand scheme of things? Because our durability is so low. It's like half of the second worst team. That's how bad it is. So us being the worst car in the grid, R&D wise, doesn't really say much, if anything, simply because of how bad the durability is. And of course, we don't know where the pace is on the R&D chart if it wasn't for durability, but we seem to be middle of the pack in things like aerodynamics. So yeah, maybe that's where we are, and we're kind of pushing the car even further. But then Drugovich is always at the bottom, but that also might be down to overall. So again, we'll have to see as things progress. Of course, I did say earlier on that we do plan to keep Drugovich for the second season. In the third season, regardless of what happens, I'm definitely having a new teammate, but in the second season, we're at least going to start it with Drugovich on the team, as we sat our first lap of Q3, and it's good enough for P4, which is actually P7 as we go on to our final lap of Q3. It's going well, and we steer a bit wide. We go onto the gravel in a little bit, and that has ruined our lap. Just one mistake is all it took to ruin our lap. So this is unfortunately where our qualifying is going to end, with 23 seconds to go. There's no point in doing another one. Maybe there was, but yeah, I just wanted to leave it because obviously, yeah, I don't think we would have had enough time to do good enough from there. But it is good enough for P9, so we will be starting with Norris and Alonso just in front of us. Gasly, I don't really think we need to worry about too much. Yes, we're on the same engine, but I think in terms of our upgrades in other areas, we're way better than the Alpines. I don't think the Alpines have really troubled us at all this season, despite being on the same Renault engine. So, yeah.
Welcome along everyone to sunny Spain, specifically to the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. So many great moments in Formula One history have been written at this very track over the years, including Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari back in '96. That win was in the rain. We might have better weather here today, but we're just as overjoyed to be at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalunya, and we welcome the removal of the chicane in the final sector, shortening lap times and reducing the total running to 2.9 miles and 14 turns. This was actually the original setup for the track, but it hasn't been used since 2007. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton, Perez, Norris, Fernando Alonso, the owner driver, Gasly, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, Joe, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Bottas, Ocon, Drugovich, Albon, De Vries, and Logan Sargent. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And joining me again for the race today, Natalie Pinkham. We should give their performance so far this season.
Well, the atmosphere within the team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do. And that has definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
Well, we're really wanting to keep the momentum going. Obviously, we're not going to get as good as we did in Monaco with that P1. Like, it's not happening. Only on a track like Monaco would that ever happen for us, at least with the current state of the car. So in terms of the strategy, I didn't really know what to do because the softs seemed really good in qualifying, but in practice they weren't. So I didn't really know what to go with. I was definitely going to use the mediums. I didn't want to use the hards because obviously we're the slowest car within this top 10, other than Gasly. I firmly think we're quicker than Alpine. But everyone above us is definitely in a faster car, so I definitely want to get a good start, and so I did want to go on the softs and I wanted to go onto the mediums. I did not want to go on the hards just in case. And yeah, this is my setup. Basically, I copied it offline, off of online, and usually when I do that, the setup doesn't exactly fit my driving style, and I change it just a little bit here and there. But with this one, I didn't have to, and after what happened in qualifying and how good we were, yeah, I'm just keeping the setup. So I think it comes from racinggames.gg online, on the internet, on Google, if you look it up. So yeah, it's where I get most of, if not all, my setups. But this one is the only one that I haven't changed at all. So yeah, it's a good setup for us. So thank you to the guys at racinggames.gg. So yeah, here we go. Coming up to 5 red lights. And it's lights out and we're underway as Leclerc and Russell lead the pack. Of course, George Russell gets a better start and we go right through the middle of Norris and Alonso. We get stopped a little bit there, sandwiched between Perez and Hamilton. So this is where we're going to have to start off a little bit as we go around the outside, try to look around the outside of Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, who has not had a good start here. He's lost 2 positions. Leclerc has also lost 2 positions. We're going to go around the outside of Verstappen, which is an illegal overtake, so we're going to have to let him pass. Verstappen does brake though. He doesn't take the position back, and I think he was going for a strategic maneuver to try and let his teammate Sergio Perez through, who has also chosen to go on the softs. A lot of the leaders have actually chosen to go on the hards, so I don't know what that is all about, because I personally wouldn't go on the hards, because, I mean, yeah, we're at 35% race distance, but, yeah, I don't think it's long enough to, really, you know, go on the hards, but apparently the leaders are going to do just that, as Verstappen looks to pull further ahead of us, and honestly, we're not going to be chasing Verstappen too much. We're going to see if we can follow him a lot. Of course, we're going to be under a lot of pressure from Sergio Perez in the Red Bull, and he is going to overtake us at pretty much any point now, as George Russell sets the fastest lap for the first lap. We do set the fastest third sector, though, which doesn't surprise me too much. We are on 2 tyre compounds quicker, but onto lap 3 now, the inevitable finally does occur, as he does set the fastest lap as well, and Checo takes P6. Of course, it is a very slow start for the Red Bulls, but that's happened a couple of times this season already, and Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez still lead the championships with ease, with relative ease. So Red Bull obviously far ahead in the constructors, and Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez battling it out up top, and of course at some point Hamilton overtook us as well. We do get DRS on him, but again, he's not the one we're focusing on. We're focusing on Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso, 2 guys that we actually are quite ahead of. And look at this, Hamilton and Checo are fighting. Flashbacks to 2021, Sergio Perez trying to slow Hamilton down here, but they've slowed each other down pretty much, because now I am licking my lips in anticipation, looking to take P6, maybe even P5, as we take a look down the outside of Sergio Perez. A very unorthodox corner to make an overtake though, so I am being a little bit cautious. I'm not putting my all into it. I'm trying to outpace him here, but obviously I do need to back out. I don't want to be in a crash this early on in the race at all. But yeah, we're going to try and follow Checo through. Of course, we're now taking DRS here. Of course, I don't actually have a lot of DRS. Is that down to the MG UK being worn? Is that down to the energy store? I doubt it's down to the energy store. Yes, our maximum capacity is 97%, but still, I think it's because we use so much ERS at the start. Will that risk be worth it? So far, it looks to be the case, as we are 1.5 seconds ahead of Lando Norris, and Fernando Alonso almost 2 seconds behind us as well. Those are the 2 that we're fighting for. P7 looks to be the position we're fighting for. Yes, we're able to fight a little bit with Checo, but yeah, obviously his tyres will be a lot more durable. We're going to try and pit now as we hit a bump going into the pit lane, and I have to abort it, otherwise we would just smash right into a wall. Fernando Alonso is pitting early. Let's get a replay of that. I don't know what happened there. Is that an actual thing on the track, or is that a little oversight from Codemasters there with this pit lane? There's a little bump here, and I tried to go in the pit stop pretty fast, or faster than, you know, what is usually recommended, simply because I want to, you know, save as much time as possible. And I think we would have saved a lot of time pitting here, because, I mean, Fernando Alonso was pitting this lap as well on the hards. I think he discovered that the hards were just not for him. But look, we're almost just on 2. We're almost pulling a wheelie on that bump there as a result of that bump. And obviously, it was too fast for me to be able to keep steering right. The car started drifting left a little bit after that bump. Well, I say left, it started going straight forwards, and obviously if I kept steering right, we would have gone right into the pit wall. So yeah, I had to abort it last second, go across the grass. Like, look at this, it was just going straight forward. If we'd have tried, look, see, I had to abort it last second. Oh my god, fine margins right there. That could have been catastrophic. That could have ended our entire race. And obviously, as a result, we've lost a lot of time now as Lando Norris takes the position. We're going to let him have it. But we're going to try and follow him through, obviously. He's on the hard tyres, but he might be pitting this lap. Who knows? I think a lot of people are going to be pitting this lap. Judging from Alonso anyway. I don't know, though. Again, why would you go on the hards just for those 10 laps? Why waste the mediums? And maybe this plays into what I said earlier about the practice sessions, that the softs didn't feel very good, because a lot of the people ahead of us are going to be pitting onto the mediums. So hards to mediums. So the softs they weren't even using. And obviously, I slowed down a lot more going into this one. I slowed before the bump. But yeah, quite strange, and we'll have to remember that from now on, because that honestly could have ended in catastrophe. Leclerc, oh my god, that was a dangerous exit. You know, in real life, I think he would have gotten a penalty there, as Lando Norris was coming in for his stop. Leclerc was sort of sandwiched between the two of us, sort of lucky there. But he's looking for the win, obviously, as we come out the pits now, and that was not a very good pit stop. We had an issue with the left front tyre, apparently, so just a complete catastrophe in terms of the pit stops, and we're down in P14 now, obviously behind Norris and Alonso by about 4 seconds. But we're needing to close that up now. Obviously, they'll be battling. De Vries is there as well, probably going to be battling. He's lost 2 positions, and we do end up catching up to him. We go for a very unorthodox inside move. He's going to let us go because, well, he's pitting now, so that makes sense. Drugovic is also pitting. Hopefully his race is going better than usual. We'll have to see. But yeah, we're looking to catch up to Alonso and Norris now, and we were close enough to Alonso to be able to get DRS, which is certainly going to help us. Norris, of course, is far ahead as well, about 1.5 seconds away, and who knows where we could have been had that pit stop gone well, or if we'd have pitted early like we wanted to. Who knows? But we seem to be looking very fast. We set a purple sector 1 as we start to close up towards Norris and Alonso. Got a green sector 2 as we go over the final corner now. We're going to get DRS once again, which is going to speed us up even more. And we actually set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as we now close into Alonso, taking his slipstream. We're now going to go around the inside. Alonso's going to try and squeeze us out a little bit, and we're going to pull what we did to him at Melbourne so many times, at least twice, and just squeeze him out until he's forced to brake, pretty much. And of course, due to that fighting, Norris has pulled a little bit further ahead. But obviously it's not far enough as we're now pulling on him again. We get DRS. We're now a second ahead of Alonso. We are really good on these mediums, which I'm very thankful for, because I don't remember really testing out the mediums. I remember testing out the hards. I felt comfortable around the track on the hards. The softs I didn't feel the most comfortable around, but they did really good in qualifying, and that's why we started on the softs. And it was alright at first, but we got understeer by about lap 7, so yeah. But now, we have really closed into Lando Norris now. We've pulled further away from Fernando Alonso, but obviously that's not going to last long if we're fighting with Lando Norris. We're going to try and look down the inside there. A little bit of contact. I don't know what I was doing there. Not a very good idea, but we're alright. The car is still intact. We're going to follow Norris through. We've lost a few tenths to Alonso, so this is where the fight's going to be, because Gasly is 8 seconds away, you know. We don't need to worry about him, especially since he's on the hards as well. So I'm assuming he's wanting to keep track position. But yeah, this is what I mean. Like, we're only bottom of the R&D chart because of how bad our durability is. Like, we are definitely 100% faster than the Alpines, and we're able to compete with these guys in the midfield because I think that's where our car really is. And I mean, look at this. We've now got DRS on Lando Norris. Obviously, the McLaren is quicker than us. It's a very slow overtake, but we're so good in the corners. And again, that might come down to the setup as well. Perfect setup for this track, because we managed to overtake Norris in a very similar way to Alonso. I'm very aggressive with the overtakes, which does help quite a lot. But obviously, in some races, I'm a little bit too aggressive, and that's why we lose parts of our front wing. But so far, so good, as we go on to lap 20 now, as Norris is really pulling in on us, reeling us in with DRS. As we look behind us now, we're going to try and squeeze him out just a little bit, but I think we made the move too late. Lando Norris overtaking us now. We're going to be a little bit aggressive there. No contact made, of course, and I don't even think Norris really backed down. I think we just had a really good exit there, but they are right on us right now. We're going to give Norris some space on the outside. Last thing I want is to brake check him or anything, and he has a great corner as we take the inside too much. Norris really squeezed it out a little bit there, even though I was giving him the space. A little bit of oversteer there. But yeah, this is a very close battle now in the last 3 laps of the Grand Prix, battling with Lando Norris and 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso. It's going to be a good fight now, as we're now going to start a DRS train on Lando Norris, of course. And we're going to hang just behind him, getting a little close there, too close for comfort, I'd say. I want to be a lot more careful from now on. Still aggressive, but a bit more careful to preserve the car, obviously. But yeah, we go round the final corner now, looking to get some DRS on Norris, looking to take the position back, and of course Fernando Alonso is there as well. He's losing a bit of pace, but obviously he's going to start gaining in a second as well, as we now take the position, take P7 back from Lando Norris, and yeah, I think that's how it's going to stay, obviously. Well, not obviously, but I think Norris is now starting to lose a little bit of pace. He is, you know, not going to dive down the outside like he did last time there, even though I did give him the space to do so. But we're just going to follow the racing line, and we're going to see if we can defend P7 to the best of our ability, which we can going on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, because over the last 2 laps, Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso have been fighting so much that we've been able to pull a second on them. So yeah, P7 is quite secure as long as we drive well, as Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris are really starting to fight here, but Fernando Alonso is the one that comes out on top for now onto the beginning of lap 23. So Lando Norris's medium tyres have really failed him towards the end of this race here, and of course his fighting with Alonso has really cost him points, to be quite honest. And obviously we're going to get an extra point, so what, this is 6 points for P7, we're going to get a 7th just on the fact that we've got the fastest lap. I don't think anyone's going to beat it now because tyres are too worn, but who knows. Anyway, into the DRS spot, and obviously we don't need to worry too much because yeah, they're too far behind us to really for us to really worry about it. And Fernando Alonso is starting to pull ahead of Lando Norris now as we go into the final sector of the track. Alonso is a decent few tenths away from Norris, so we're going to come home in P7. We've actually beaten Alonso and Norris. Alonso coming home in P8, Norris P9, and 7th place is really solid. That seems to be where our car is. We seem to be the best of the rest, depending on our driving anyway. So yeah, very good. Driver of the day, Max Verstappen. He took the race win. Pretty good day for us in Spain.
They've done it then. A spectacular victory here in Spain and a massive confidence boost going into the next race. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I feel consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sports that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
And I'm also delighted to get another P7, which is definitely going to help us in the Drivers and the Constructors' Championship. Who knows what's going to happen by the end of the season? Who knows how far up the R&D we can really work? Because, of course, the competition is really close. But obviously, as it stands, being the quote-unquote worst car on the grid, we can get a P7 still. But it's like I've been saying throughout this episode, we are only the worst car on the grid due to durability, I think, and how bad that is. And the chassis is apparently really bad as well, which makes no sense because that's what I sort of focused on improving at the beginning in terms of the questions and stuff, so the facilities are great. I don't know, we'll see, but our aero is great and the powertrain is great, so we're definitely better than the Alpines, that's for sure. And who knows where Drugovich could end up if we start improving him. Obviously the second season, I'm definitely looking forward to that, because we could end up fighting for the championship at this pace, you know. Obviously, we're not as good as the Ferraris, the Mercedes and the Red Bulls, but in terms of overall performance this season, we're seemingly the best of the rest, which is incredible. Of course, Alonso and Norris are quite close to us, as you could tell from that race, and they are close to us in the Constructors' Championship, and Alpine are creeping behind there. But AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams, we don't really need to worry about them anymore, and of course, with this race, beating Bottas again, we've also won the rivalry with Bottas seemingly. So yeah, a very good race for us there, and yeah, that brings this episode to a close. So thank you guys for watching this episode of F123 My Team Career. If you guys liked it, be sure to hit that like button as hard as you possibly can, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until next time, peace.